Love changes everything. That is Climby Fisher. It is 12:39 and it's about that time for us to get into nostalgic storytelling journeys through the Veld and kitchen and refreshment stations. You will remember that last week we were speaking with the founder of khoi, Quinique, Jagers, and it is about that time again just to get into celebrating that very, very rich heritage passed down from lost and found khoi lineage. Quinique, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Diana, and all the listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us today yet again.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be with you all.
Beautiful stuff, man. So today we are getting into finding home. Or finding that lost and also found khoi lineage. Let's maybe start off with you just reminding our listeners, for those who might have missed our conversation, our startup conversation last week, who you are and what the organization is all about.
Okay, thank you, Diana. So my name is Quinique Jagers. I live in Cape Town. I'm born and bred on the farms, the winelands and the Overberg. And I've got a company called khoi. And what we do is we produce puchu blended tea. So, dink aan jou ouma se kombuis. Think about the recipes of all the combinations that our grandparents used to make, that our parents still make, that we still make. We've basically boxed that, and we share our story nationwide.
That is super, super awesome. So if you're looking for that experience, daai enetjie wat jy weet, as a tea lover, you're definitely going to enjoy. This is the way for you to go. You can find khoi on Facebook. Right, Quinique, let's just jump right into it, man. So we have gotten into different conversations. So we have a layout for each week. And today we are basically getting back to that lost and found khoi lineage. Did you always know your khoi lineage?
Diana, not even a chance. I think like most colored people, we grow up with, I almost want to say, this veil of not even wanting to go there. You know, you read up on history in school, your parents aren't speaking much about it, you try to bring it up with your grandparents, and there's kind of this cold air. It's like a combination between a dirty little secret that is being kept and almost as though there would be repercussions to even come out and speak about it. So it was not in the back of my mind, it wasn't in the forefront of my mind, but it was interesting how there were things that came and visited. So, you know, we'd laugh it off that some family member's surname is Bartman, and you think, oh, Sarki Bartman, but you're not connecting the dots. You know, you've got some of the family that is Plaatjies, or there's just all of these different variations of things happening, and you laugh it off once again because you think that it's of no significance. And I think what was probably the most striking for me is on a school trip one day, we went and visited the Morphology Museum in Stellenbosch. And I'm looking at the remains of these people, and I'm looking at the school kids that I'm with that, you know, it's from a small little town, and most of those kids would say, don't call me colored, I'm a Boesman. And they wear their fellies to school, and you're just confused by this whole narrative. And suddenly you find yourself in the Morphology Museum where the people inside of this preserve look like your family. and you go to the, you know, the person, your tour guide, and I asked the question, I posed the question, I said, why is it that all of these people being preserved look like us? What's happening here? And I think the response that day that I received of just being shrugged off to be said, it is what it is, it's just like that, is where I started this journey to ask myself the question, who really is the Khoisan? And why is the South Africa's dirty little secret? Why do we not speak about this? Are they extinct? Why do they look like my family? Why do they look like the people around us? And how is it that this is no longer something that we speak about?
Let's now talk about that one moment that you can describe as a pivotal moment on
Mm-hmm.
your journey of discovery.
Okay. You know, Diana, I was actually spending time in prayer. I had no intention of finding out about khoi lineage. You know, I think it's quite frank. When you are labeled colored according to the institution, you just accept it as such. And whatever people decide about you, depending on your phenotypes, you'll accept that as such because you yourself don't know, right? But I was spending time in prayer, and it's like I don't know what other people would call it, but it's like this loud rumbling voice. It was like this audio voice in the room that said, you have taken on the culture of the church, but you've forgotten your culture in me. And it was a bit of a shocker to me because I thought to myself, everything about being colored cannot possibly be good. I mean, you look at media, you look at the way that our communities are constructed, you look at the newspapers, you listen to the sounds of grieving mothers and grieving grandmothers and all of our sons and our husbands, being incarcerated, punitive actions being taken on them on the streets and being profiled. And you think, there can't possibly be something good that can come out of this community. Why would you then say to me, I've given up my culture in him, meaning in all of who God is, I've given up my essence in him and how he has created me within my culture. And I would say that journey was at least about 2 years of back and forth and really just, going back to my family line and asking about our surnames and asking about our history and which farms did we stay on and where were we kicked out in. Just understanding the regional demographic and geographic locations of where my people moved, and it became quite evident, who we were. So that was the most pivotal moment for me, was that echoing voice of God saying, you need to step back into who I created you to be, and we will celebrate this together, but we will do it from the perspective of healing that narrative and not merely walking in the dysfunction of the narrative.
Quinique, this is such a very plain but also not simple question, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you to be colored or mixed?
Sure, Diana. I think there is a definition of color to me. I've got two actually. So my first one is, this 1950 mark. When I go to the Cape Archives and I look up my family history and I see that we go from being Buster and then we Gemeng and then we go into colored. I just think there's such a large portion of who we are that got so lost after 1950 when that classification came. And I wonder to myself, what was our tribe name before this was decided on behalf of our people? So to the one degree, what colored means to me is you have stolen my identity, my tribal identity you have stolen. My ability to connect with this ground, my ability to connect with my story, whether it is slavery or whether it is the beautiful things that I helped build in this country. And then the other one for me is I'm proud of it to a degree, because even though we lost our no or kukukuwab language because of the removal of our forefront teeth, we were able to do something funny about the forefront teeth being missing. Even though our sons get incarcerated or end up doing, these terrible things economically, you find strong businessmen that are being produced. So there's all of these juxtapositions that's both negative and positive that gets birthed out of my people. And I find that it's tenacity to be colored, to be a nameless nation almost, to be discarded, to be forgotten, but still to be standing and to say we will continue to push forward and we'll continue to push quota systems and we'll continue to do even what we've seen in the news recently, with Tyler, with Kobe, with all of these beautiful people that have taken things forward.
Beautiful stuff. All right. Now I am looking at my time and I'm going to say, right, let's hit this one because I know that I have to let you go as well. But before we wrap up, I'm going to ask of you to please remember to share with our listeners as well where they can all go to basically have a look at your page as well as everything that you have available on there. So let's get into what would you say is our legacy as indigenous descendants and not necessarily indigenous peoples.
Yes. I think it's ownership, Diana. And I know that that is such a difficult thing to dabble with, because how do you take ownership of something that you almost feel wasn't your conceptual baby? Do you know, at the end of the day, Diana, when we are now participating in this economy, and we are now participating in educational institutions, and we are now participating in strategies on the way forward for the country or even for a company, we are participating as not merely, visitors as slaves, but as inhabitants, as people who have both come in from a ship and quite possibly have been here for over 2,000 years. So whatever that combination mix is, you understand this ground. And I find that it's so beautiful that our farm workers it's us, it's the tribes, it's whether it was from the migration tribes, whether it's Mozambique, whether it's West Africa. When we speak to the soil, it listens. When we speak to the animals, it listens. Our legacy is to take ownership.
Wow. That is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for our next conversation and the one thereafter and the one thereafter. I am super, super excited for all of us to explore this journey together.
Yes.
It is one of those things where you can say it transcends time and space.
Yes.
We are intertwined and interlinked in any way, shape or form that you can think of. So besides the fact that you're down in Cape Town, I'm up in Joburg, it is just that thing that we have as a peoples. You are able to recognize by my spoken word, and I'm able to recognize you by your spoken word. And this is what this journey is all about. Please do give us some detail in terms of where we can find information on khoi.
Thank you so much, Diana. So if you'd like to buy our Buchu Blend teas, you can visit khoi.co.za. If you'd like to follow us for more stories, our handle on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube is @khoi. And if you'd merely like to share your story, your journey of discovery, of your khoi lineage, or some recipes that you want to share from your Omasakum base, or some herbs that you want to share with us, please pop us an email at hello@khoi.co.za. Thank you, Diana.
Quinique, Jagers, thank you so much. It's always an absolute pleasure having conversations with you.
Gangans. Thank you, Diana.
And that is Quinique Jagers there, and you can look forward to that particular segment every single Thursday, where we get into all of those khoi blends. You will get to know what exactly Buchu tea is and all the other stuff that is familiar to you, but you don't really know them. Some of us know them by hearing. Okay, that is something that people are always talking about, but we are not familiar with what it is, and thus the conversations with Quinique Jagers. It is 8 minutes to 1 o'clock. Next up is your sports news and your news headlines coming your way at exactly 1 o'clock. Aldous FM 87.6.
This is Aldous FM.